having me in Los Angeles.
I know. Thanks for keeping my seat warm till Sunday.
It's a wonderful studio. Let me start with the unmasking. Leslie, do you think Devin Nunes has owned an apology after what he said about the concern, and now Susan Rice admitting to what was done?
No, I don't. I think he fanned the flames of this a bit because, first of all, specifically when you look at unmasking and when you look at the policy of unmasking, the one organization that has the most exceptions to the norm with unmasking is the NSA, of which Rice was a former advisor. So I feel that she not only was within her right, I think a lot of what we're seeing today are the terms like illegal. This is not a criminal activity. And in addition to that, this is procedural. And then when you have honestly, for me to agree with Trey Gowdy ever when he said, look, she did a good job, and they don't find any problem after what was supposed to be a closed and secret, as we just heard, testimony with what they found that she did, well, then, you know, I mean, sorry, if high-ranking Republicans don't have a problem with what she did, then I think Nunes is not owed an apology. If anything, he owes her an apology because he fanned the flames of this.
I guess there's a lot of people looking at this and saying, if this was a Republican administration that had done this, think of the outroar and the press coverage. This really hasn't been anywhere this week.
Exactly, and I think that, you know, I think this is going to run and run. It's not the end of the story by any means, and we'll find out whether it's legal or illegal, but it's certainly wrong. And what it tells you is this incredible arrogance on the part of the insiders, as they were, and the outgoing administration. I think at this point still not quite believing the election result, not believing that in their view this bunch of rookies have taken over and are deigning to have meetings with other countries and fashion a new independent policy different from theirs. It's just that arrogance, and I think that that's what will really annoy people about this evidence that they just didn't take the incoming administration seriously enough to let them do a new foreign policy.
All right, let's turn to immigration, DACA specifically, the negotiations ongoing. Today, the president tweeting out, chain migration cannot be allowed to be part of any legislation or immigration. A direct result, Leslie, of some of the GOP pushback. Here's just a taste.
I actually don't think the president has changed his mind on the wall, but he has telegraphed a diminishment of the resolve that we saw in him as a candidate.
If the president did make a deal, we've still got to do what we do on Capitol Hill.
There are 535 members of Congress that weren't a party to the conversation.
Does he not recognize that this is the same group that truly wants him impeached?
You know, that's hard to dispute.
You can't have the legalization first and a promise that we're going to do something else, because who believes Washington will keep a promise?
So a lot of uproar, but the deal seems like it's kind of moving forward.
The deal is moving forward, but here's the problem, and I think is why one of the reasons the Gang of Eight failed years ago. Immigration is huge. And the issue is not just DACA, it goes beyond DACA. You have right now 4 proposals, right? You have one from Democrats, and you have one from more moderate Republicans. And the president has been very clear in one respect. I mean, last week he says he loves Dreamers, and then he's using this immigration hardliner language, which really concerns me, quite frankly. But when you look at what he says has to be a part of the deal, and many Republicans do, and that is border security. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean a wall? Are we talking about visas? Are we talking about the people that are in this country? Because some people say, well, worry about the people trying to get in. We've got to deal with the people in this country. And then some people say in the Republican Party exactly the opposite. We need to worry about people trying to get in. Yeah. This is, I don't think this is going to happen. And I think that the DACA, these Dreamers, are in a very bad position because the timeline is impossible.
He's made a pledge, Steve, about the Dreamers, saying they don't have to worry about it. He could be approaching this piecemeal, and he's clearly trying to make a deal. He is a different animal for the people inside Washington on either side of the aisle to look at.
That's right. And I think that actually this is the piecemeal approach is the right approach, because fundamentally public support for immigration depends on control of immigration. And immigration has been out of control, and that's why there's such strong feelings about it. Now, if you're going to reassert control over immigration, then you have to do that piece by piece. And if you're going to fight a battle, don't start by throwing out the most sympathetic part of the immigrant population, the Dreamers. And so I think actually both propositions are true. We should legalize the position of the Dreamers, but we also need to control immigration, and that means border security, and that means building a wall. And the final thing I'd say on this is that build the wall was one of the most high-profile promises in that election campaign. If it ends up that someone's elected on that promise and it doesn't happen,